And I was really, though I work on the history of science, Pinker has not been on my radar really at all, or had not been on my radar at all before that. But when Enlightenment Now came out and he started publicizing the book, I saw, this and that piece or interview with him talking about it and talking about, among other things, how historians of science these days are all nihilists and they all hate science and they're all anti-science and they're also anti-enlightenment. And, being someone who works on the history of science, works on the 17th and 18th centuries, who teaches, the Enlightenment course, other than the scientific revolution course, I think the Enlightenment course is the one I teach most often. I found this kind of wild because this is a guy I, have no particular set of associations with, except I know he's a big name Harvard figure who writes a lot of very popular books. And I didn't really associate him with one or another side in the culture war because I hadn't been, viewing that from a history of science angle at that point. But reading what he had to say, I was really struck by how silly so much of it was. Honestly, I'm almost as interested in the way Enlightenment has been taken up before, but especially since his book, I think, as a kind of battle cry in the culture war, and as something that has, on the one hand, a very pat meaning. It is, to quote what is his group of things on the title, reason, science, humanism, and progress, I think, are the four things. Discussion, it's invoked without any kind of, it's invoked simultaneously as this abstract set of goods that are timeless and universal, and at the same time as something that's very specifically tied to this one moment of history, and therefore a particular narrative of this history is somehow essential to the survival of civilization. And I mean, that's obviously counter to how historians do their work. It's counter to historical thinking. It's counter to any kind of open inquiry, which is sort of ironic, given that he's championing enlightenment and open inquiry. So, I found that, something to think about and worthy of criticism.